So firstly, I will ask Ros Dawson, who is the chairman of this little group, which has been plotting, planning about the possible creation of a Bingley Council, to explain why we need, how we will benefit from having a Bingley Town Council. So Ros, please.
Thank you very much, Norman, and thank you all very much indeed for coming here this evening. As Norman explained, my name is Ros Dawson and I chair the Bingley Community Council Group, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about this proposal for Bingley Town Council, which is basically a vision for our communities, for Bingley, Cottingley, Cross Flats, Eldwick, Gilstead and Micklethwaite. And I should say from the start, when I use the term Bingley, I use it as a collective term because it covers all our communities. We're all interlinked and it is to benefit all of us. So we'll look, as Norman explained, at why we need a council, why it will make a positive difference, how it will work to improve our health, our wealth, our environment, and how essentially it will give us a voice. We'll also consider as well how to get one through a petition and also a consultation process. First of all, who are Bingley Community Council Group? Well, we're all unpaid volunteers. We all live in the local area. I mean, I grew up here. I went to Myrtle Park First School. I went to Rishworth Middle School. My family have lived here for, 45 years. I moved back here with my own family 7 years ago. All the members of the Community Council Group, and they have badges on them, the members of the steering committee anyway, are all local residents. We're not party politically motivated. This is a grassroots organisation. We're not being put up to do this by any government group or other council. We don't stand to benefit financially from this. We're just passionate about where we live and we want to see our communities thrive. There is so much good about where we live, the landscape, the outdoors, the history, the connectivity we enjoy through the rail links and the bus links, the clubs, the organisations and the people generally. These are just a few of the lovely places that I like to go with my family. But equally, there are things that we all know are not so great at the moment and haven't been for a while. I saw buildings, the issues we've had over the Bradford and Bingley Building Society and Sainsbury's, the station master's house, for example, as you come out of the railway station. The saga of the swimming pool, Bradford Council wanting to shut it. It will shut it. What will happen? How will we have a pool? Bingley Town Hall, again, Bradford Council intends to shut this, move the staff away. What will happen to that building? Bingley toilets, and the council's intention earlier this year to shut the toilets. Thankfully, through the work of the Civic Trust, the support of the Community Council Group, the support of the traders who hosted petitions, and the thousands of people who signed that petition, we managed to get the council to change its mind. Our toilets are not now going to shut. They will remain open on reduced hours, but they still will be there for our community. And the Green Hill Action Group, another example of how people have had to start from scratch to campaign about an issue which matters to them. There are other issues too, the market, the empty shops. People come to me every week with issues and concerns about the place they live. And it got us all thinking, what if we as a community had a voice? What if we were consulted about these decisions, about planning applications, for example? What if we could actually plan for what we want to do as a community? What if we could act together in a unified way? What if we could not just talk about things and grumble about things, but what if we could actually do something to make a difference and to make things better? Basically, how could we stand up for Bingley? How could we bat for Bingley? And over the last year, we've been considering different alternatives and have come to the conclusion that we need a local council because it's a legal body. It's credible, it's authoritative, it's sustainable. It's a democratic body, it's representative because all the councillors on it are elected. It's funded through a precept, and we will consider the money in more depth in a moment. But having those funds and resources means it can actually do something. It can coordinate, it can support, it can liaise. It's a well-established type of body. There have been local councils in England and Wales since the 1890s. It's a proven model that works, and it would give our communities some clout. We're grateful to have support from many people from Bingley Community Council Group and what it's trying to do. Organisations have supported as well, like Bingley Civic Trust, the Rotary, both Bingley and Bingley Airedale, and we've also received support from the government, from the Department of Communities and Local Government, the National Association of Local Councils, and the Yorkshire Local Councils Association. They've given us a grant to help offer the people of Bingley the choice as to whether it wants a council or not. It's important, mentioning these national bodies, to consider the wider picture. After we started our initiative, we realised that we were swimming in the same direction as national government policy. Right now, there is an initiative to create a council nationwide. Local people are being asked or trying to be empowered to become and set up local councils because of things like the Localism Act, which means there are all sorts of different policy agendas under the heading My Community Rights. Basically, this means that people are able to take on things like community assets. They're able to take part in neighbourhood plans and neighbourhood planning, which gives them a say in the type of housing they might have and where that housing might be situated. It's all part of these changes in public spending. And as we all know, Bradford Council last year had to bring in several budget cuts, and that's going to continue into the future. No matter what political party is in operation, there will always be issues about money. So essentially, a local council is an essential community tool. Briefly about governance in our country. Obviously, we have our national government that sits at Westminster with our MPs. We have principal authorities. Ours is City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council, and we have 3 ward councillors for Bingley and 3 ward councillors for Bingley Rural who represent us on Bradford Met. And then there are local councils. There are 18 in total in the City of Bradford Metropolitan District Council. And it's this type of council that we're seeking to create. It's not an alternative to Bradford Met. It's not a reinvigoration of the old Bingley Urban District Council. It's a local council. Have a look at this. These are Bradford's 18 existing local councils. You can see them all round here. They're labelled, and in your brochures also there is a map as well. This is where we are here without our council. But here we have Baildon, Menston, Burley, Ilkley, Addingham, Silsden, all around here. This is Clayton, that's Bradford Trident, which is slightly different, and that's Rose. So the proposed Bingley Town Council would sit in that gap, as it were. It would sit there. Within this area, which is essentially made up of the existing Bradford Met Bingley ward and 2 bits of Bingley Rural, which don't have a council, there are 10,973 households and 18,427 electors. That's over 18,000 people who are not represented through a local council. These are the polling districts, the little areas where we all vote for our ward, our district elections. if we were to get a council, these little polling wards would probably be the basis for creating local councillors for our Bingley Town Council. Bingley has a long history of past governance, so having a local council in a way is nothing new. We have a lot of information on the website, but governance goes right back to the Viking times with the wapentake of Skyrack. We then move through, medieval times with the court baron, into the 19th century with the Bingley Improvement Commissioners, the Local Government Board, and then Bingley Urban District Council, which was abolished in the 1970s with local government reform. Since then, some local areas like Ilkley and Denholm kept their parish councils, but others have re-established their local councils. So, a few key facts about local councils. They can be called parish, town, community, neighbourhood or village councillors. The councillors are all elected and they're unpaid, unlike the district councillors. But they're supported by a clerk or an RFO, a responsible financial officer. Sometimes that post is done by one person. That clerk is professional and that clerk is salaried, is paid. The council must meet, and be publicly accountable. It must have agendas, minutes, and accounts. It's funded through a precept, and there are around 9,000 of these local councils in England and Wales. Chris, in a moment, is going to speak in more depth about what councils do, but they must basically be consulted about planning applications, for example. They must keep records, they must be accountable. They can do all sorts of other things like create neighbourhood plans, support local groups, for example through grants. They can have tourism, regeneration, health and well-being initiatives. They can run public assets like toilets or community transport schemes. What local councils cannot do is to take on the responsibilities of the principal authority. Say, for example, that would be education, major transport, social services, development and building control, and environmental health. So, briefly, what a local council could do for Bingley. Essentially, it would be a forum. It would be a place where every month people could raise issues that matter to them. Over the last year, I visited several local councils, and in all of them there has been an opportunity for local people to come along and say what's bothering them. It might be a planning issue, it might be a parking issue, but it's a forum for debate which we don't currently have on a regular basis. It would be a hub for communications. For example, some councils have websites, e-newsletters, printed newsletters, a way that people within our community could let each other know what's going on. And the council equally could tell people about what's going on and be a bridge almost sometimes between the district authority or other authorities. Planning, crucially, a local council by law has to be consulted. So we'd know about all the planning applications and people would be able to form an opinion on it and put forward residents' views. Now, a local council cannot determine a planning application, but it can put forward opinions about it. More broadly, I think a council would enable us to create a plan. We could work out what we really wanted to do and what we wanted to tackle, whether that was regeneration, investment, employment, looking at our parks and green spaces, tourism, or tackling eyesore buildings. There is no shortage of ideas. Many people have come to me with ideas about things that they want to see happening, but a council could actually be a body that would help to turn those ideas into a reality. Now, of course, there is a cost to all this, and the cost is time and the cost is money. The councillors are unpaid and they give their time freely. Although, as I've mentioned, they're supported by a salaried clerk or a responsible financial officer. The council is funded through a precept. Now, that precept is an amount of money that's paid in the council tax. It's fixed by the councillors. And in the information that you were given, I've taken a screen grab of the precepts which are currently on Bradford Metropolitan District Council's website, so that you can see the amount of money that everyone in all of the 17 areas that pay precepts are currently paying. You'll see that a bandy in Baildon, for example, £15.32 for the year. A bandy in Ilkley, £24.04. I've taken those because they're councils which are kind of close to us and probably are achieving things that we'd like to achieve. It's important as well to say that the precept has no cap to it. It's up to the councillors to fix that precept. But what we've got to remember is this a cost or is it an investment? Because all that money is spent in the local council area. It may be collected, and it is collected by Bradford Council in your council tax, but that money comes back to the local council, and it has to be spent here. It can't be spent in central Bradford or elsewhere in Bradford Met. All the councillors who are setting that precept will also pay it as well, and they've been voted there by their neighbours. This is a successful model which has worked, as I've said, for over a century. And having this pot of funding, crucially, would allow us to apply for other funding. For example, REN funding, which we're entitled to apply for because we have landfill sites, or community infrastructure levy, which is a potential development cost which developers may have to pay to the council. Now, the truth is, if we have a local council and a local neighbourhood plan, we would get 25% of any CIL, community infrastructure levy. If we just managed to have a neighbourhood plan by some means, we might get some money, but it would be spent and determined by Bradford. But if we have no council and no neighbourhood plan, then we as a community won't get any community infrastructure levy if Bradford Council decides to implement this system. Given that Bingley has been designated as principal town to take 1,400 new homes, then that could be a considerable amount of money. And I think we have to ask ourselves as well, what is the cost of doing nothing? How will it be if we don't make a change and we don't look to reorganise and do better than we are doing at the moment? So how do we get a local council? Well, over the last year, we've been doing informal consultation to determine support. And it's because of the level of support that we've had that we're here tonight, because a lot of people do want to see a local council. Some people do not want to see a local council. And of course, there will always be a divergence of views. The important thing about this is that it's an opportunity to discuss this, and it's an opportunity to make a choice. So now tonight we're going to launch a formal petition. That petition must be signed by 10% of the electorate. So in other words, 10% of that 18,400 and I think it was 27. So 1,843 signatures. That petition does not mean we get a local council. That petition means that we ask Bradford Met to carry out a community governance review or a consultation. And that will be a consultation with all the communities, and they can take up to 12 months. After that, the council, City of Bradford, decides whether or not we get a council. If they decide not, then that's it. There is no appeal, and we can't go back with a petition for 3 years. If they decide yes, based on their consultation and its findings, then the processes will start to create a council. Elections will be put in place. We'll elect some councillors and get on with it. So, briefly, why we need Bingley Town Council. We need a voice. We need a voice to put forward our community's views. It would be great to have some consultation. We need a legal body that's representative and democratic. We need to organise ourselves, and that's essentially what this is. It's about being more organised. We need to be able to plan for what we want to achieve for our town and our villages. We need to work together in a unified way, and we need to not just be able to talk about things, but we need to be able to do things as well. Thanks very much.